For decades, the majority of the people who went to go see a movie went to see it because of the actors who were in it. And I was just sitting around wondering one day, why is that? Like, what started this obsession with movie stars? And then I went deep into a rabbit hole and wanted to find out who the first movie star was. Silly me, I was thinking it was going to be difficult to find the first movie star. Like, they had so many movie stars coming out all at once that there was no real first one. But I was wrong. You know, it's kind of weird that we have movie stars. It's not a bleed over from theater before movies, because most people don't know who the actors are in a stage play, but they'll still go see it. Like, for instance, if you go to see a Broadway show, you don't know the actors involved unless you're a theater nerd. You go to see it because of the play itself. So why is cinema the way it is? Why do we have movie stars? Well, that could be drawn back to one person. Well, two people really. And a publicity stunt that changed the world forever. In the early days of cinematic acting, there were no movie stars. There were mainly acting troupes or companies. At the time, most actors wouldn't be even credited at the beginning or the end of a film. That is, until the very first movie star, Florence Bridgewood, more famously known as Florence Lawrence. Florence Lawrence was born Florence Annie Bridgewood on January 2nd, 1886, in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. She was the daughter of Charlotte Bridgewood, a vaudeville actress and stage manager, which exposed Lawrence to the world of acting from a young age. Her early involvement in theater paved the way for her to transition to film, which was a new and emerging medium at the time. Lawrence was one of several Canadian pioneers in the film industry who were attracted by the rapid growth of the fledgling motion picture business. In 1906, she appeared in her very first motion picture. And the next year, she appeared in 38 movies for the Biograph company. While at Biograph, a young actor, Harry Salter, was looking for a young and beautiful equestrian girl to star in a film to be produced by Biograph Studios under the direction of D.W. Griffith. Griffith, the most prominent producer-director at Biograph Studios, had noticed the beautiful blonde-haired woman in one of Biograph's films. Because the film actors received no mention or credit, Griffith had to make discreet inquiries to learn she was Florence Lawrence and arranged a meeting. Griffith had intended to give the part to Florence Turner, Biograph's leading lady, but Lawrence managed to convince Salter and Griffith that she was suited for the starring role in The Girl and the Outlaw. With Biograph, she had been earning $20 per week, working also as a costume seamstress along with her acting. Griffith offered her a job for acting only for $25 per week. More money, less work. Makes sense. In total, she had parts in most of the 60 films directed by Griffith in 1908. Towards the end of 1908, Lawrence married Harry Salter. Now, at the time, Lawrence was gaining a lot of popularity, but because her name was never publicized, fans started writing into the studios demanding to know who this woman was. Even after she gained recognition, particularly after starring in a comedy series, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, and the highly successful Resurrection, Biograph Studios refused to announce her name, and fans began to simply call her the Biograph Girl. During cinema's formative years, silent screen actors were not named because studio owners feared that fame might lead to demands for higher wages, and also because many actors were embarrassed to perform pantomime in motion pictures. At the time, both movies and motion picture actors were seen as B-level entertainment. It was lowbrow, it wasn't considered real art. And the pantomime acting eliminated one of the actors' most vital tools: their voice, which of course forced them to play up the physicality of their acting, which resulted in, let's just say, unnatural performances. Anyway, Lawrence continued to work at Biograph in 1909. Her demand to be paid by the week rather than by the day was met, and she received double the normal rate. She achieved great popularity in the Jones series, which was cinema's first comedy series in which she played Mrs. Jones in around a dozen films. But even more popular than that were her dramatic love stories in which she co-starred with Arthur Johnson. Now, Lawrence and her husband Salter began looking for work elsewhere, writing to the S&A company to offer their services as leading lady and director. Rather than accepting this offer, however, the S&A company reported the offer to Biograph's head of office, who promptly fired them. Finding themselves at liberty, Lawrence and Salter were able to join the Independent Moving Pictures Company of America. The company was founded by Carl Laemmle, the owner of a film exchange, who later absorbed IMP into Universal Pictures, which he was the founder and president of. Now, he was looking for experienced filmmakers and actors, and needing a star, he lured Lawrence away from Biograph, promising to give her a marquee. Now, once she got there, this is where the genius marketing kicked in. See, Laemmle organized a publicity stunt by starting a rumor that Lawrence had been killed by a streetcar in New York City. Understandably, her fans were devastated by this news. And unlike today, all of this stuff was pretty new to audiences back then. Like today, we would probably sniff this out as a publicity stunt right away. But back then, news didn't travel as fast and we didn't have as much information. Or they didn't, because I wasn't around back then. After gaining much media attention, Laemmle placed ads in newspapers that announced "We nail a lie" and included a photo of Florence Lawrence. The ad declared that the star was alive and well, making The Broken Oath, a new movie for his film company IMP, directed by her husband Salter. I mean, this shocked the world to say the least. Laemmle had Lawrence make a personal appearance in St. Louis, Missouri in March of 1910, along with her leading man, to show fans that she was very much alive, making her the first performer not already famous by another medium to be named by a movie studio. The fans in St. Louis were thrilled to see Lawrence alive, so thrilled that they grabbed at her and popped the buttons off her coat. Laemmle used this as even more publicity, publicizing that fans ripped her clothes off. It was partially due to Laemmle's ingenuity that the star system was born. Before long, Florence Lawrence was a household name. However, her fame also proved that the studio executives' concerns over wages and demands were right. Florence Lawrence's rise to fame brought with it significant financial rewards. In 1912, Lawrence and Salter made a deal with Carl Laemmle, forming their own company. Laemmle gave them complete artistic freedom in the company, which was named Victor Film Company. Lawrence was paid $500 per week as a leading lady, and Salter was paid $200 a week as a director. That $500 a week is about $14,000 in today's money, adjusted for inflation. With this newly found financial prosperity, Florence was able to realize her lifelong dream of buying a 50-acre estate in Rivervale, New Jersey. The rather substantial income for the time allowed Lawrence to enjoy a lavish lifestyle, though it also underscored the transient nature of fame and fortune in Hollywood. Despite her early successes, Lawrence's career began to decline in the 1910s. The rapid pace of change in the film industry, along with personal and professional setbacks, contributed to her fading stardom. Lawrence faced financial difficulties, health problems, and the pressures of maintaining her public image. By the early 1930s, Lawrence's acting career consisted solely of extra roles and bit parts, which were more often than not uncredited. In 1937, Lawrence was diagnosed with a bone disease which produces anemia and depression. The disease was likely myelofibrosis, a rare bone marrow disease, which was incurable back then. Due to her poor health and chronic pain, Lawrence became depressed but attempted to keep working. On December 28, 1938, Florence took her own life by ingesting ant poison. She was 52 years old. Her death was a tragic conclusion to a life that had seen both unprecedented heights and devastating lows. But it also highlights the often overlooked pressures and vulnerabilities faced by those in the public eye. Unfortunately, Lawrence's life story has become an archetype for the rise and fall of Hollywood stars. Her journey from anonymity, followed by her decline and tragic death, reflect a pattern that has been repeated by many stars in the film industry throughout the decades. Lawrence's experience underscores the harsh realities of fame, including the fleeting nature of stardom and the intense pressure that accompanies public recognition. It's unnatural to be that famous, but because she was the first one, she was the guinea pig for what we now know is an often toxic and isolating life. That being said, Lawrence's contributions to cinema can be felt today. Every time you see a movie star or think of somebody that acted in something that you know, you have Florence Lawrence to thank for that. She was a trailblazer in the film industry and made actors more famous than the films that they were starring in. I don't think a lot of people know about Florence Lawrence, but she should be celebrated as a pioneer in the movies. Without her, we probably wouldn't have your favorite movie star today.